You're listening to a New Dimensions Media podcast. New Dimensions Media, communicating the wisdom that's changing the world.
Hello, I'm Michael Toms. Welcome to the New Dimensions Cafe. Today I'm hosting Marshall Vian Summers. He's the author of The Great Waves of Change, Navigating the Difficult Times Ahead. For the past quarter century, Marshall has been in the process of providing a preparation to sustain individuals and societies through the difficult and uncertain times ahead. He travels widely to present his message of hope and a revolutionary way of knowing to audiences around the world. Marshall, welcome to the New Dimensions Cafe.
Good to be with you today.
Nice to have you here. Marshall, as someone who travels the world, goes to different countries around the world, in different places, and so forth. In fact, you travel in order to get your information to really help you see what's going on. In this ever-changing, ever-morphing worldscape, as we look at it in this moment in time, I'm wondering how you perceive it. What do you see?
Well, I see humanity becoming increasingly stressed through resource depletion, through political instability, through critical issues such as food, water, and energy. Every country I go to becomes part of my heart in a way. I start thinking about the people of those countries. They've kind of become my people, particularly if I've had time to spend with them to experience their humanity and to see the beauty of people in different cultures. But I do see the world becoming very strained, and it's happening at a very fundamental level. The difficulty for people to have the basic things of life, the competition for these things, the strife and stridency between nations, what that looks like down on the ground is very difficult, and I've been really impacted by it. And in creating the teaching that's in The Great Waves of Change, I realized that in order to do this kind of teaching, I had to really ask myself, do I love humanity? Do I really want humanity to succeed? And there's lots of reasons to be angry with people and what they do and what we're capable of doing and what we have done. But I had to see that, we are a gifted race that's trying to emerge out of tribalism into some kind of greater community in this world. And the kind of community that we're going to have to establish, will be so dependent on how people see each other and what people are able to contribute individually. And so in preparing for the Great Waves of Change, it's not simply about how do you deal with the impacts of great change and how do you protect yourself against difficulties, but really, what does this call out of you to give to others? And where does your strength reside? And what is the nature of your gifts? Because those of us who have lived in freer countries are really anointed now and required, I think, by life to be of service to others who do not have these advantages. And we carry that mantle of responsibility. And I think if our spirituality and our spiritual practice means anything, is to prepare us for service in the world, a service that may look very different than what we might have planned for ourselves initially. And by being in other countries just portrays the need for this so greatly, because we're all ambassadors for something. And if it's for something good, then our interactions with each other here in our own nations and abroad become very important for how we are going to collectively deal with the great waves of change that are coming. Great environmental change, great political change, great economic change. And that love for humanity has to be there, because that creates fire in the belly. That creates a kind of drive to serve, because you really care about the outcome for people, even if they live in a very different place than you do.
Marshall, you wrote, you must take the journey to see the pathway.
Yes.
What does that mean?
That means you can't stand at the outset and understand how it's going to turn out for you, or what it's going to ask of you, or you have to take this journey with a level of inner trust, a level of trust that you really are here for a greater purpose, and that there's a voice within you that's there to guide you and to correct you when necessary, and that you have a kind of deeper conscience that's like a compass that lets you know when you're going astray or going against what's really true, and begins to resonate positively when you're moving in the right direction. And it's this compass that represents God's greatest gift to us, regardless of our religious beliefs or faith traditions. Even if you don't have a faith tradition, you have this power of knowledge, this moral compass within you that is going to save your life. It's going to pull you out of situations that have no hope and promise for you and take you to places and to people who really do have hope and promise for you. And it's these engagements that will begin to call out of you a greater strength and a greater set of gifts. And in a world it's becoming ever darker, more complex, these greater gifts, the power of this calling will increase for people. In fact, it's at the most difficult times that I think the greatest people will emerge. And they will emerge out of humble beginnings. They will emerge out of ordinary lives. They will emerge out of in any kind of person from any walk of life, because it will be called out of them. Something extraordinary will be called out of them. And that's part of the gift of our difficult times. But even with the gift, we cannot neglect the peril of these times as well. And so to share with people the peril and the gift together is what I endeavor to do. And sometimes I have to take people to the edge of their discomfort, take them out of their comfort zone. Certainly reading The Great Ways of Change takes you out of your comfort zone. But it takes you out of your comfort zone to engage you at a deeper level and to spark a kind of fire within you that tells you that you have a greater life to live. And this is the right time for being here. And one of the other things I emphasize for people is to stop complaining about life, about the world. The world doesn't work. Okay, I know that. It's tragic. Yes, it is. There are terrible things happening in the world. Yes, there are. But the energy you spend complaining is the energy you need to spend preparing your life for the great ways of change, and preparing to know what is in you to know that will lead you to a greater service in the world. And this is very important because so much of our life force is being wasted in endeavors that have no promise and no productivity. And those now have to be brought into our fundamental engagement with life. And that restores to us a sense of greater peace and integrity, but also gives us the strength to push through the things that have held us back before.
Marshall, I think many people in different places are experiencing discomfort, and someone may be tired, someone may be upset or worried about this or that and the other thing. What about the discomfort? Like what is the discomfort? What is it telling us? What is it trying to show us?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's different kinds of discomfort. I think the discomfort that you're referring to is a discomfort that really is a sign that we need to see something, know something, and or change something. And it's a sign we have to really be with. I know we can spend a lot of energy trying to get out of discomfort, but some of these discomforts hold a message. And to see what they're telling you and showing you and indicating is really important. It's this compass again. If your life isn't moving, you'll begin to feel uncomfortable. Even if you've surrounded yourself with very pleasurable circumstances, if it's not moving in the direction it needs to move in, then there's discomfort. And this discomfort is a sign and a key that you need to pay attention and take the next step, whatever that may be.
So a lot of people, again, because we're inundated with media messages all the time, they look at the world around us and they see, oh my God, what can I do? What can one person do? What do you have to say to those people?
Well, what one person can do and what small groups of people can do is what's changed the world and what's always changed the world. The world has never been changed by consensus. It's always been changed by perhaps one or two leading individuals and small groups of people working together, and this has produced innovation in science and in social justice and in technology. Every aspect of our life has been forwarded by courageous individuals who knew something, who saw something, and the gathering of people to enable them to bring this into being. And we're all meant to do this kind of work in a different capacity. None of us, really here to be, supermen or superwomen. I think that's a very unhealthful notion. But we have gifts we haven't discovered, and those gifts are only going to come forth where they need to be given. And if we're not in the proximity of that giving, then those gifts remain latent within us, creating a kind of discomfort or dissatisfaction that no amount of pleasure, no amount of even spiritual practice can allay. So it is this engagement at a deeper level that I think is the most fundamental thing, and it is the thing that will prepare us to navigate the uncertain times ahead.
Recognizing that none of us can predict the future. We really don't know what's going to happen in the next moment. If you had all your druthers, no obstacles, and we were to fast forward to the year 2020, what would you like to see the world be like in 2020?
I would like to see that nations realize they're not going to survive without each other, and that the resources of the world are being preserved and shared, and that plans are being made for the future to secure that provision. Because there's the old saying, we either hang together or we hang separately. And
Benjamin Franklin.
Yes, that's right. And we're going to need each other. I think this sense of all people are going to need each other. We can't afford to have nations fail, because that's a domino effect. We can't afford to have war, because war is a domino effect. And when peoples and nations realize that they're not going to make it without other nations, that very few nations in the world can even provide food for themselves adequately in this age, then there's a possibility for a greater cooperation based on necessity, based on not just a moral ethic, but upon necessity. And I would like to see that. I would also like to see humanity begin to think about its future in space and how it is going to engage with other forms of intelligent life, how it is going to preserve the world from intervention, and how it is going to develop the unity and maturity to discern friend from foe and to be able to learn the wisdom of the universe. I think we're at that threshold to begin to learn these things now.
Marshall, if there were one thing you could leave our listeners with, what would that one thing be?
The power and presence of a deeper mind is within you, and a deeper voice. Listen for this. Learn to listen for this. It will save you, and it will enable you to save others.
Marshall, I want to thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with Marshall Vian Summers, the author of The Great Ways of Change, Navigating the Difficult Times Ahead, published by New Knowledge Books and available in paperback. And if you'd like more information about Marshall's work, you can go to the website newmessage.org. That's newmessage.org. You can also get there through the New Dimensions website, newdimensions.org. My name is Michael Toms. I want to thank you for joining us at the New Dimensions Cafe. I'd like you to come back again. And don't forget, when you go out there, do something good in the world.
This has been the New Dimensions Media Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Please send your comments and suggestions to info@newdimensions.org or go to our website, newdimensions.org, to enjoy other New Dimensions programs and to listen to New Dimensions Internet Radio, the internet radio home of New Dimensions Media.